Norman prepares dinner. And as he serves it, Atra Black offers him a seat to sit and eat with the three of you before you begin your excursions into the lesser explored portions of the house. While the rain had lessened during the day, as night fell, it picked up again.
What does dinner look like? Is there like a game bird that Atra shot this morning?
A pheasant? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a cooked pheasant.
Is there like a multi-fruit and walnut cranberry stuffing?
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it herb stuffing, but yeah, sure, that works. Some apple sage sausages, Brussels sprouts, and honey glazed carrots. The dinner is fairly quiet as the four of you prepare for what is coming. And as you finish, Norman says, "Leave the plates. I'll take care of them later." Atra and Hunter go back into the front room, which has at least two ways out, leaving you with Norman getting ready to explore. Is there anything you need from your bag before we go? Is there anything I should have with me?
Norman, I may need my bag, but I need 2 hands, one for the candle and one for these. He opens up his coat, shows a couple of sharpened knives, in case things get dicey down there.
Very good. I have the keys. He pulls out a big iron ring of jangling keys.
Well, I suggest we start with the basement. It's dark, it's wet, it's spooky. It probably holds the solution to our problems.
Norman leads the way out of the dining room, down a hall. He says, "The kitchens are up this way, and the basement is just here to the left." He puts a heavy iron key into the keyhole. There's a clunk of metal as it turns, and the door creaks as he opens it. "This was once used to store wines. After that, it was used to store meats. Now, it's used for very little. Would you like to go first? You are holding the candle." Your footfalls echo in the space down here as you walk down the stone steps of the basement. Your candle casts long, flickering shadows in all directions. It doesn't quite reach the dark corners, and as you get about halfway down, you get a face full of cobwebs and have to brush it aside. Yes, it has been quite a while since we used this space for anything, though I don't think Hunter has explored much down here. It wouldn't surprise me if he found his way in at some point.
Quite wet. You could consider growing mushrooms down here, Norman.
We have tried to dry it out for fear of mold. This wetness is recent and surprising. The well out front has dried up.
I meant to ask you about that well, but we'll circle back to that once we've explored the basement.
The basement has old racks that look like they once held barrels, and other ones that look like maybe they held bottles. How thorough do you think you're going to be?
Janus is not a detective. He's not a private investigator.
Yeah.
He's a concerned citizen.
Yeah.
With a curious nature. He can only glean so much from picking up damp things and looking underneath them, and he'll do his best. Maybe I should do a perception check.
Nah. You look around, you spot an old bottle. Still full. Probably not good anymore. It looks like it was made quite a long time ago. You shine your candle in the darkened corners where there are critters, little insects and creatures scatter at the brightness of your light. You find something promising that just turns out to be an old sheet that maybe covered a piece of furniture that was down here at some point, moldering away in one of the corners. But you don't find very much down here. It's not as large as the house. It seems like it's maybe only just under the kitchen.
Now, there aren't any secret passageways, something like that, that connects the basement to the outer grounds, Norman?
There are passages elsewhere in the house that I use to get places quick and unseen, but I don't know of any down here.
So, that explains you sneaking up on us all the time, Norman. You're using little holes in the walls?
I'm not sneaking up on anybody. I'm simply doing my job.
Agreed to disagree, Norman, but... So this is the basement. There's nothing much to report, is there?
No, I will dispose of this bottle.
Anything interesting on the label or vintage year? Anything?
512. A good year, but it's probably gone sour by now.
Well, that's a shame. Dispose of it as you will.
It is a shame. This was an Applegate wine. Little known fact, Jonathan Quincy owned a vineyard outside of Greenfield. Ah well.
Well, if there's nothing else to discover, on to the next mystery.
He leads you upstairs, places the bottle in the kitchen. Shall we go out back to the stables, up to the attic? I've frequented the passages on the main floors of this house enough that I don't think there could be anything in there.
Shall we make our way up to the attic? It's at least the driest place we can inspect next. Afterwards, perhaps we'll make our rounds through the stables.
After you, upstairs and to the left.
Is there like a special... Is there a special entrance into the attic area, or are we just on like a high floor that is rarely used?
He says upstairs and to the left and opens a little door that you didn't see was there that has a spiral staircase that goes up.
Well, all right.
It's a very narrow passage. You have to keep your candle close to you, and you think you spiral around 4 times before you come to a little landing, and there's a trapdoor on the ceiling that you can pull down.
We're quite high up, aren't we?
Yes we are.
And you mentioned passages below. Are there passages on these higher floors as well?
You're in one.
I see. He looks around like he already figured that out. It's gonna pull this trapdoor and head up.
Yeah, the attic is significantly more full than the basement. There are lots of pieces of furniture, ornate items, vases, sculptures, many of them covered in white cloths.
There's always an empty bird cage.
Of course there's an empty bird cage. There's an old globe, a very large chest with a lock on it.
Norman, keeper of the keys, you wouldn't happen to have a key for a chest? He gestures.
Don't think I do. All of the keys on my ring are accounted for.
Well then, the solution to our collective problem could lie within this chest, and as such, I will open it myself, Norman. Please do forgive this. And he rolls out a little leather skin with pockets full of some tools.
Alright, skullduggery. It is hard. It's old. It's gonna be 3 purples.
What does my thieves' tools do for me? Do I get a
They let you
boost?
do it.
Oh, they just let me do it.
Oh, okay, you get an advantage.
Just on the outcome?
Yeah.
But I can actually add that in.
Yeah, you can add it in manually.
That's a starbird.
It's, it's the triangle.
I'm gonna take a risk and not flip on this.
Okay.
And just be
That
really
is a risk at this point, seeing your track record. 1 in 5.
Well, I do get an advantage.
Okay.
1 in 5.
It's really unlucky.
2 successes and 1 threat.
Okay.
I successfully picked this lock.
You do. Finally. You pick at the lock for a little bit, and you find the mechanism inside. You navigate the pins on the inside of the lock, and you hear the thick clunk of the iron shackle as it lets go on the inside, and you get it off. You lift open the trunk with a creak, and dust slides off the top as you push it back. Inside you find clothing. You find some dresses. You find a old tattered stuffed bear, and Norman looks over your shoulder. Interesting. That does appear to be Candace's. They must have put it away up here after she disappeared.
Interesting indeed. And is there anything like non-clothing, anything that, like a note, a letter, another key, one key leads to another key?
There could be a diary in there.
So there's diary.
Yeah.
Norman, I wouldn't typically read someone else's diary, but this book could hold the solution to our problems. Shall we peruse this together?
An understandable intrusion.
Thank you for your forgiveness, Norman. Let's take a look.
You see the diary of a young woman. Nice cursive handwriting. It looks like it was the summer, and Norman confirms that the diary was written around when she disappeared. The pages tell about friends and summer activities, going into town, going into Point, sailing on one of her father's merchant ships, meeting a sailor on the ship that on one page she says is her soulmate. On the next page, she never wants to speak again. Coming back to the house. And then it talks about how the house is boring and there's never anything to do. Then it stops being words and it starts being drawings of maps. There you see a map of the top floor and attic. It looks pretty accurate. You see the basement, the main floor. You see maps of the town outside and one of the manor grounds, the stables, the guardhouse, the house, the root cellar out back.
Maps, Norman. Intriguing.
I see that.
I'm looking for an X. Something that would signify, well, typically treasure, or an easy solution to our problem.
Don't see any treasure. There's a thunder boom outside.
Well, this map does include the grounds. I think that's at least a good enough indicator that we should take a walk outside once we've thoroughly uncovered all the mysteries of this attic.
Looking at the map, yes, it has the grounds. It has places that you've seen. One place it doesn't have is the well.
You mentioned that the well has been dry these last few weeks, months?
Yes, it has. It dried up, a few months ago, and we've kept it covered since.
You've kept it covered, and why is that?
We wouldn't want Hunter falling in or any of the other local children.
And if there were water, you wouldn't mind someone falling in, as they could float and we could throw a rope down and they'd be all right.
Well, it would still be quite dangerous, but yes.
And in weather like this, it wouldn't stay dry for long, would it?
Well, no, but the cover is on top of it right now.
Have you ever gone down and explored any of the inner workings of the well? Why would you?
I've never had reason.
Few would, Norman, but we may have a reason to take a peek down there.
Do you have any rope?
Let me see here. Well, I have 125 extra gold in my
Silver
in my inventory.
You gotta flip a story point to say that you bought this before the adventure.
What a waste of a flip. Sure, I'll flip. Can I flip to say that we find some rope in this attic?
Sure.
Well, there's rope right here,
Is it
Norman.
rope or is it like tassels that were used for drapery or something?
This braided cord will work just fine, Norman. I wouldn't call it rope, but You know what? I'll call it a rope. It'll serve its purpose.
Takes it and tests it. It should work.
I weigh about 100 pounds. That'll support me.
It certainly won't support me.
Well, with you on the other end of the rope, Norman, the two of us will do just fine.
The two of you head downstairs, out to the front, where Atra is sitting in that room with all the trophies on the walls. Their black eyes reflecting the light from candles and lamps. You see Hunter trying really hard to stay awake, just nodding and picking himself up and nodding again. And you head outside?
That we do.
Okay. You pop your collar up against the wind and the rain and head down the gravel path towards the main road. Through the wind and sheets of rain, you can see the silhouette of the abandoned guard hut, its walls falling down, and just beyond it, the well. As you get there, Norman takes the rope and sets it down next to the well and lifts the heavy wooden lid off of it. And as he does so, you get a draft of cold air coming up from it.
Cold air, Norman. Cold air gusting up from the depths. How can you explain that?
It's not a good sign.
I should say not, Norman.
What will you do if you find something down there?
Great question. I feel like maybe I have some kind of spiritual defense in my bag. Do I?
You have...
Maybe not.
You could take a swig of rum from your flask and have some liquid courage. Otherwise, you've got stuff to heal wounds and strain.
Norman, hand me that bottle. Takes a cork out. Bolsters the constitutions. You should try some, Norman.
If any time was the right time. He nods and takes it. Takes a swig.
Attaboy, Norman. Well, hold this side tight, and if I tug in quick succession twice, do your best to pull me up.
He loops one end that you can put a foot into and wraps the rest of it around his meaty metallic hand and starts lowering you down into the well.
I have my stub of candle.
You have your stub of candle.
Does it have a little, like, lantern canopy?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's like a little metal circle around behind it that reflects the light forward.
Yes, okay.
You are slowly lowered down into the depths of this well. It's dark. As you get a little further down, you run into cobwebs and spider webs. Little spiders crawling all over the walls. You see one crawling up your furry hand.
Yeah.
As you go further down, it gets darker and it gets colder. After what seems like a very long time, hit the bottom, and Norman calls out, "Did you make it down all right? I've got slack. Are you at the bottom?"
Norman, I've reached the bottom, and I thank you for your expert lowering.
The sky above is so dark that you can barely see the circle above your head. Shining the light around you, the space is small. It widened a little bit at the bottom, but only to a rectangle from the circle that you came down. As you begin to take in this small space, I'll flip a story point, and you hear a faint shout. You assume the direction of the house.
Norman! It's Hunter. Hunter won't wake up.
And you can just barely see the outline of Norman, the silhouette of Norman up above, look down and look towards the house, and then disappear. And you continue to hear shouting from the house. Atra repeatedly calling Norman to help.
Is this followed by a noise of coiling and the thud of the top of the rope hitting the bottom of the well?
No, it is not. Not unless you move around too much. The water that was on you from the rain, you can feel your fur stiffen as if that water is freezing. Very little of the rain is getting down this far. But as you look around this small space, you turn and turn again and look in the corner, and you see something dark, and there's a little breeze. Your candle flickers and goes out.
My candle is out.
You hear the skittering like 1,000 little legs.
I need light.
You have 2 light side points.
Oh, do I?
Yeah.
I want to tell you what I want to do, and if it's too dumb, then you can narrate a more other place version of something similar.
Okay.
This is mostly just my dumb narrative. The well goes completely dark. Janus opens his coat, which is lined with pockets, and he pulls out a little vial that has a large caterpillar in it. He pops it out into his hand and rubs his fingers along the hairs on it in the dark, and it lights up a little bioluminescent glow.
Yeah. So I flipped a second GM story point there. You rub the back of this caterpillar that you knew was in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would it not be there? And it begins to glow, and you see that you are in the basement of the Black House, looking at racks filled with bottles.
I can't wait to tell Norman about this. He'll love to hear there's another secret passageway. This would explain the dampness in the basement and the dryness in the well.
You look around to where you thought the dark shape is, and you see something large scurry off into a corner under the stairs.
Well, glad I took a sip of that rum. That's giving me a little courage right now. He looks to the caterpillar. Well, shall we?
You're going towards the thing?
Yeah, I think he cautiously is going to approach the direction of the thing.
Yeah. The stairs are... They're stone, and there's just a little alcove under them. A little, half-round alcove. And inside it is darker than dark. The caterpillar's light doesn't even penetrate it. And when you get close, you see right at the edge of it 8 little legs coming out of the darkness towards you, just inching across the ground, reaching out for you.
Oh, no, thank you.
Now's the time where you should probably make your discipline fear check.
And my rum does something to help me with that.
It turns a green into a yellow.
Okay, so this is a discipline check.
Yep, and it's 3 purples.
Maybe I'll get lucky.
You have 2 light side points.
Let's see, discipline. You said this is hard?
Yeah.
I have 2 light side?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll flip one. I think that's all I can do. Total wash. So I'm scared.
You're scared. So you're adding a setback to any checks that you make. As these legs or fingers or something, these dark appendages reach out towards you, I think you fall back. And as you land on your butt, the thing jumps out of the darkness towards you. And I think you close your eyes when you know it's going to hit, but you don't feel it hit.
Huh?
You open your eyes and you're alone in this place.
I saw it. It approached me. It attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be? Waves his hand in front of his face. I'm wide awake. I'm not asleep. Maybe it could only take my breath away if I were dreaming. They did say you have to stay awake. Maybe it's on its way to Hunter. He's gonna stand up, dust himself off.
Pick up his caterpillar.
There you are. Puts it on his shoulder.
It's letting out a dim green light.
He pets it again, and it brightens up a little bit. I think you gotta pet it every 5 minutes. The glow kind of dissipates after 5 minutes.
What are you gonna do?
Well, Hunter is in trouble. If I'm going to get up to help him out, I'm not scaling this well. I'm gonna have to make my way through the basement.
Yeah, you go up those stone steps, and the door at the top is hard to open, but you're able to open it with a dull creak, and you get up into the hallway near the kitchen. The hall is dark. You don't hear the sounds of thunder and rain anymore.
Perhaps the storm has subsided?
As you walk past the dining room, and you see the drawing room where the fire is lit, and Atra is kneeling next to the couch, trying to wake Hunter up. Her calls to him are muffled, like they're coming from another room. Norman stands there with some smelling salts. He's trying to get in front of Hunter's face. All of the sounds of this place sound like they're distant, and all of the trophies on the walls are staring at you.
Like they're actually watching him?
Mm-hmm. You see a spider crawl out of the deer's ear around its face and go up its nose. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tales from the Grey Library. Thanks to Doug for playing on this episode. Check out Doug's art at voidboy.art. Tales from the Grey Library is produced by Nightcast Creative. To learn more about us and the podcast we make, visit nightcastcreative.com. If you like Tales from the Grey Library, be sure to listen to its parent podcast, The Other Place, wherever you listen to podcasts.